Welcome to the LostCompass podcast. We are live from McCall, Idaho.
This is the beer opening ASMR edition.
That's right. What are we doing, guys? Who do we got on the show?
I am the 3-time podcast guest of the LostCompass. If you haven't seen the other 2 episodes, my name is Jessup. I make YouTube videos. I'm a childhood, Will's my childhood best friend. We've known each other since we were literally children.
Still children, that's debatable.
Subjective.
Yeah.
And I am, I guess, technically an ultra athlete now.
For sure.
So
How does that feel to say that?
it feels weird.
Is it something that you could grow into?
Oh, I'm sure. But I mean, it was weird saying I was a YouTuber or like telling people I make music. It's like,
Yeah, or doing-
I don't know what it is. There's like this weird insecurity around it. Doing ultras, at least, like, you build this badassness about it that it's not validated off of people listening to your music or people watching your YouTube videos. This one is validated on like
Your personal...
you know how hard you hit and you keep moving and you're like, all right, I'm confident within here.
For sure.
It's
yeah.
a lot different.
Yeah. A lot of times you don't need to speak on it.
And who are you guys?
Well, everybody knows who I am.
Everybody. Wow. Big Will over here.
Will Dinosaurus.
Bring it to you live.
Bring it to you live. No, so we're all down here together. We just had a big weekend. I think there was a lot of build up on the other podcasts, obviously, about our IMTUF 100 down here in McCall, Idaho. And me and Jessup finished up this weekend's adventures. Both of us finished the race on Saturday.
So we got really good times.
Yeah, so that's pretty fast. It started on Saturday also.
Much quicker race than we were anticipating.
Yeah, it was a pretty fast race.
But it's pretty cool that everybody was still in good spirits, you know?
Everybody was definitely in good spirits.
Again, subjective.
Yeah, just cutting to the chase.
Yeah.
Neither of us finished.
Neither of us.
We're not walking home with belt buckles.
Yeah, we did not earn a buckle at the IMTUF, which we've talked about this, but me and Kinsey have been doing ultras for about 5 years, at least involved in that world, doing them ourselves, and then including pacing and crewing and some of the most prestigious races in the ultra world. And this race, in my book, shines as like it's a top tier race. You know, I mean, and it's a reason that's a hard rock qualifier, right? I understand. It's a big boy race. It was a deep end of the pool race. That being said, and I'll just speak on this personally, like I didn't feel like it was a lack of preparedness for myself.
Totally. I agree.
Yeah.
And if I can expand on that, I also don't feel like it was the race that kicked personally, again, I don't think it was the race that kicked my ass. It was the injury
events leading up to it.
Because we have no idea how it would have gone. I mean,
that's such the rabbit hole of jumping down ultras is like, because part of what ultra is the shit that gets kicked at you during the race.
Yeah.
Like the broken feet, the rashes, the sickness, all that stuff is ultra. Mm-hmm. And so in that sense, you know, obviously like the race kicked our ass or whatever you want to call it on this day.
Yeah, on this day for sure.
We always talk about that too, of like how you can have your best training runs and you're like, I'm prepared for this, like, you know, and then all of a sudden come race day, something happens every single time, whether it's hip cramps, feet injuries, back seizing, so you're throwing up, whatever it is, your flask or your water filter and stuff is like broken, or you know, but that's part of like those variables, you know, that you just can't train for that because that's just unknown.
And nobody knows. Like I hadn't injured myself on the other 2 episodes. So what ended up happening, which this is where I think is a little different, is it wasn't race day that was the injury, because the injury happened
2 weeks prior.
A week and a half. Yeah. 2 weeks right before, it was the Sunday. Cause it was after we watched that movie. So I had a back injury literally the day of our last like big week for peak training, and I don't know if I pulled a muscle or herniated a disc. I ended up in the ER 4 days before this race, and I think because of that injury, what it did is like all the training that I did do, that instantly negated it. So I went into this thing almost like I wasn't flexible. I wasn't training. Like my body did not respond as if we went out on a regular. I started the thing literally from mile one dealing with problems as to where a lot of times is a little different in my perspective of like, I didn't even get the fair chance of doing this with the full training.
With a healthy body
to
start with.
Yeah, so I definitely, I had my moments of like, this really sucks. I put so much effort into this, and I'm at like 10, 15 miles, which I've done so many times, and like ready to die.
So are you curious to what like your abilities truly are, like going into it confidently? Like at some point you'll probably come back and do this race.
I'm sure.
And I don't want to like speak for you in that, but yeah, do you question your abilities to get one of these done?
Can you hear me chewing in that?
Oh, yeah.
This is gluten-free. I could tell by the chew, the crunch. What was the question? Sorry. Squirrel.
The question was, do you question your abilities from this experience, or do you have like now another fire or drive to be able to go into one that's more,
Yeah, I don't question my abilities near as much as like, I mean, when you've hit like limits that takes literally everything to keep pushing through. I mean, I like having full conversations of just quit, just to like, I hit the limits. I've been there before. I know what that is. And I hit that way too early in the race. Like there was no lack of mindset of pushing myself through, because I would have kept going, but I got cut. I mean, that's part of it too, is like, but I didn't stop. It was like I got cut, and no matter how painful it was, I would take 30 seconds. I could have kept going, but there's a lot more people that want to go home to their families and stuff, so we obviously can't keep going. But yeah, I think that was a long-winded answer of I don't really doubt them. I think in the right instances, or not dealing with an injury, I think I can. I know that I would, and Will could probably attest to this, we'd probably do more climbing for this particular one, because it was very technical, and I didn't expect it to be as technical as it was. But yeah, if anything, I just learned. It didn't make me doubt myself. It made me like learn.
Being your first experience with anything in that environment is probably a huge learning curve, and it was one of the toughest races that they have for hundreds. You can take a lot of experience from this.
Yeah, and I mean, we can get into it in a minute. I don't want this to be just me talking the whole time, but like maybe if you want to talk about what happened to you, and then I can talk about like what I got out of it. But
yeah, I'll share my experience with the race, and then so like I said, felt honestly very not in a. You can never be cocky. I've been doing this long enough. You're not cocky with these, but I felt very confident coming into this race. Like my jam is mountains. Like I've spent a lot of time in the mountains. We've already talked about all that stuff. But anyways, felt good starting with the race. Started the race off strong. Like it was no joke. Pretty much out of the gate, you big climbs, big steep climbs. Got high, jumped a bunch of elevation, and then so the first aid station was technically mile 12, but there was no crew at that aid station. Felt good. I kind of learned from my last race in Oregon that I need to take care of my feet more. So at mile 12, I stopped, took my shoes off, shook out my socks, shook out my shoes. Even I felt a little grit, and it just made him. I wiped my feet off, made him feel better. Didn't take me that. It took me 5 minutes, And
I didn't feel like I had that. I was going so slow. I was like, I don't got 5 minutes here.
Yeah. No, I did that because like that was what halted me in the last race. So I was like, I got to take care of my feet better.
Yeah.
So made a big difference. Was eating, hydrating. I was very focused. Like I was very into the race, very in tune with my body. From mile 12, the next one was mile 20, right? That was the next aid station.
Yeah. And I think they say 20, but it was more than 20.
Something like that. Yeah. Well, it was approximately 10 miles, so 22 or something. But anyways, that's the first one that the crew could show up at, and got into there in good spirits. Was like, okay, like this is the way this race is. Like this is a big. I think the first thing I said when I came down to the crew, I was like, this is a big boy race. Like, but I was still feeling very confident. Like, again, I've been there, many times feeling how I was feeling, but it was 20 something miles. I was actually feeling really good, hydrated. I was in good spirits, You
look good. I looked at the footage.
Yeah.
You look great.
Yeah.
I think from even a crew's perspective, you didn't sugarcoat and try to be fake about like how great of a time it is out there. You were serious when you said like this is a big boys race.
Yeah.
Like, this is not for the weak and weird.
No, it was just like I was like, okay, like this is a big race.
And to put it in perspective, Bobby said that there was somebody there that was like somewhere around 5th place or like doing really, really well, and came down, looked great, and then just was like, nope, not for me.
No,
It's
I
too
don't
much.
I don't want any more of that. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to do that anymore.
That's at 20. Mile 20.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because when you go back and you look on the elevation chart,
You do that again.
you do that like 5 other times. But if you're looking that far into the race, like you're already lost. But, so left there feeling really good. You run down the road for a couple miles, and then it started the next climb that I thought was actually more serious than the first climb. And that was like my first gut check where I was like, oh shit. Because after 20 miles, now you're going to start to feel it. Like you do start to feel it. I don't care how trained up you are. You start feeling it. And, so that was the first gut check where I was like doing some of the climbs. It was starting to get hotter in the day, starting to get like noon. The sun was just like, it seemed like it was just hitting that side of the mountain really hard. Not a lot of shade on the upper half of that whole climb. But anyways, just kind of kept trugging along, was having my little low points, pity parties to myself. But just my body was still moving, even though I was like going through my stuff or whatever. So climbed up out of that. At the very top, finally, I threw on some music, which I normally don't do. But I threw some music on, some headphones, and like that got me all amped up. And I'm not very fast downhill. I always say that I can climb really strong, and I'll kind of pass people climbing, and then they just like blow by me downhill. But I was like cruising, man. I didn't see anybody. There were some people that had got to the top before me. I never caught them, but nobody ever passed me, so that's a plus for me.
Right.
But anyways, bombed all the way down to mile 30 approximately. And like, I was thinking like, man, the crew's going to be stoked. Like I'm coming in like good time. I'm feeling good, feeling strong. Like I kind of got over a couple little like sad points. And then I was like, also that's a third of the race.
Yeah.
Like that's a good chunk of the race you got done. And so you're that's a confidence booster, but knowing there's plenty of battle ahead. And I get down there and I don't see the crew.
Start taking care of yourself.
Start taking care of myself, getting my water. I was definitely kind of like, I had my hands on my knees for a second, just like, man, I need to chill out for a sec. I knew that was going to be a good aid station though, because, the crew was there. I was going to, I think I was going to eat. That was something that I said the first one. I was like, yeah, I said, you guys have to make sure that I'm eating big calories. Like, I can't just get by with eating a granola bar in between the aid stations.
Right.
Like, when I get to the aid stations, I need to be putting in some sufficient calories. I'm looking around. Well, my buddy Jared actually surprised me and drove all the way down from Coeur d'Alene, which was super cool. But he's the only one there. He comes up behind me like, hey, man. And I'm like, oh, what's up? Where's the crew? And he's like, I don't know. They're not here yet. I'm like, dang. Like, I got an experienced crew. And I'm thinking, where the hell are they? I'm thinking like, they couldn't have miscalculated my time. Like, I'm not that fast. I didn't come in that fast. Like, I definitely didn't crank up the climb on the other side.
Yeah.
So anyways, Jared like had a chair and stuff, which was super cool. Cause I was like, okay, well, I can go sit down and take my shoes off, start doing stuff, and drinking some water. But really I was kind of halted there because they had my headlamp. They had some like gear that I needed to bring with me.
Because we didn't have crew for 2 more aid stations.
Right. Yeah. There was going to be a big chunk coming up, for 26 miles or something. I wasn't going to see them. And so, yeah, so I was waiting there a little bit. We'll kind of tie in what happened to the crew, where they were after that. But anyways, they eventually ended up showing up.
Did you guys also went and got a sandwich right?
The crew, they ended up showing up. They brought me a sandwich. I had already been there for maybe like 10 minutes or more, which that's too long to be staying at an aid station that early in the race, like until you're later on. If you're really hurting and you need time, that's different. But you need to be getting in and out of aid stations in the early part of the race. So I was there for too long, simply just because we didn't have all the stuff there yet. But anyway, so ended up eating a whole sandwich. Kinsey like loaded my pack up with like bars and all kinds of stuff because she knew I had a couple big sections to go, and then I wasn't going to see them until potentially like 1 a.m, which is so crazy. That's a long time to go. It's like
because
6 to 8 hours.
3 o'clock.
Yeah.
No, theoretically, we had your time coming in at like 9:30, between 9:30 and 11, because things happen. You just
At your current pace. That's
Yes.
when you should have been there. Was about
9:30, 11 o'clock the latest, right? And but the cutoff was 1:15
For what?
for 56 mile race.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, left mile 30. And actually, as soon as I left, I actually wasn't feeling that great. Like I was just kind of like, okay, now the work's starting. It's 30 miles already. Like now here comes the work, And I just like, I tried putting music back in because I just rode this high on music all the way down. Put music back in. No, wasn't good. Like I was kind of feeling off, like nauseous a little bit, but that's normal. So I took my music out and I was just kind of like, power hiking. It was kind of this douche grade all the way up for 7 miles up to the next aid station, which was just a slow, steady climb. I mean, kind of foothill stuff. And then the aid station up there it's the one that has the goats in it, which was kind of cool. So anyways, roll into this aid station. I'm, not doing awesome, but I'm not like down or anything. I could totally maintain what's happening. Sit there, get my water filled up. I didn't eat anything. I wasn't eating really anything there. I had just eaten 7 miles ago or whatever. Yeah, I wasn't eating. I did eat. I was really liking, they had some high chew candies.
You love your high chews.
Dude, I took some of those and like put a couple in my pack, and I was really enjoying those. But started climbing out of there, and then as soon as I started climbing out of that aid station, like I could just tell I started feeling sort of nauseous, but it was still hot, kind of. And I was thinking, like, I felt that before at the Race the Wolf, like feeling nauseous from climbing and stuff when it's hot. And it was kind of like, it was like the slow onset of nausea kind of coming, and it would come in waves. Like I'd feel kind of sick, and I'd have to kind of like take some deep breaths and chill out and then keep going on. But there was 10 miles between, so 37 and 47 was the next aid station, and the cutoff for the 47 was at 10:45 p.m. And like this section of the course from 37 to 47, anybody who's done it will know this, but this section of the course is like, it was a little demoralizing because you're like doing these fairly big climbs, and then you would drop down into this big, like into these big basins and in these big bowls, it was just the head of these drainages. Like if you don't know the course, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do like a couple medium climbs and then I'm going to drop down into the aid station. That's kind of what it looks like on my little chart, Well, I'm like climb and then like drop way down. And I'm thinking like, okay, maybe we're going to like start heading out of this drainage, but then like the trail would start climbing back up out of this one. I'm like, what the hell? About that time though, I started feeling like I was kind of getting a little bit more nauseous. And then one thing that started to catch, I was starting to hone in on was, my heart rate was not recovering. It was just staying super, super high. Especially obviously just on the climbs, like super elevated. It wouldn't come down even when I would stop, like on the climbing. And I'd have to like put my head on my poles and like taking deep breaths and like trying to get my heart rate to, and then if I could bring it down a little bit, and I'd start climbing a little bit more, and it would just like, boom, like snap back up real high. I'm like, dude, what is going on? Like, so I was like, okay, maybe I need some food. Usually calories and stuff will start to, you can combat that kind of stuff. And so I think I tried having like these little like a mama chia or something, and then I was climbing a little bit more, and then pretty soon I just couldn't stop it. Like, and the nauseous just was overwhelming. So I puked up everything, like anything that I had from the sandwich, all that stuff that I had taken in, puked it all out, all my water, everything, like a big vomit session.
Which, with that type of climbing and that much work, like all of your calories gone is a recipe for disaster.
Well, 100%. And this isn't a race where you have crew really close to you that you can start over with your hydration and nutrition. Right. Like bad water and stuff, your crew can meet you every mile if they wanted.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they're just driving alongside the road. So when you're doing big mountain races, if you get jacked up way out there in between aid stations or something, then like it's not good. Like, probably the odds are starting to get stacked against you.
Yeah.
So anyway, so after the big puke session, then I really had nothing else to throw up, but the nausea, I was still nauseous and was on and off like spouts of dry heaving and high heart rate for the next, like, it actually took me to get from 37 to 47. That took me, so 10 miles almost took me 4 hours, like 3 hours and change, I think.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look, but that's way too long. And that was like just 3 hours of just very uncomfortable hell. Like, this really sucks. Semi-demoralizing, but knowing, so I was talking to myself literally out loud, having a conversation like, all right, dude, you know what to do. You got to get to the aid station. I still don't get crew at mile 47, but, it's a full aid station. You know what to do. You get rehydrated, sit down for a little while, get warm because it's starting to cool off. Now it's getting dark. Get warm, get some water in you, and just like get your wits back. Like gather everything back up, And so anyways, I finally make it to mile 47. It's what time I get there? 9:45 maybe, approximately.
Which is when they were expecting you at 56.
Right. Yeah. So now I'm a fair bit behind.
Yeah.
Which we know that happens at these races. Like Kinsey was way behind her expected time down in Bryce Canyon at her 100. But, I was still ahead of a 1 hour. I was 1 hour ahead of a cutoff at that aid station. So I probably spent 15 or 20 minutes there doing exactly what I told myself to do. Like, try to get some food back in you, And so I started, I changed my socks because I had a drop bag there, changed my socks, tried to drink some pickle juice, get some sodium back in me. I was trying to eat, what did I eat? Oh, I ate some broth, like some top ramen they had. I knew those things. I'm like, I need to get some of this stuff in me. Like, and then I was just really I need to get to the crew because the crew can help me, And so once I kind of packed it up, I left I tried to shoot them a text just after 10 saying like, hey, I'm leaving. And then as I'm leaving, I'm kind of like standing there trying not to throw up in the aid station, like just trying to keep my shit together, but knowing like, and they're like, okay, it's 5 miles of dirt road. And then then you go down like 3 miles, like you go down this trail and they're like, yeah. And then the aid station's like right there, they're very vague on how far stuff is and what it looks like.
Also just volunteers that don't necessarily know the course.
Totally. Yeah. That's fine.
Sure.
But like,
it's totally fine when we're
that's all. Yeah. That's all you're like banking on, especially if you don't know the course. You're only banking on like whatever they say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I start walking out of the aid station. It's dark. It's probably a little after 10, like 10:15, 10:20. I puke up all the stuff again that I just put in my stomach. And it's a downhill walk. It's not super steep. It should be very runnable, like on good legs and everything. It should be very runnable. It should be a fast section of the course, technically. Actually, right. From 47 to 57. It should be a fast section.
Should be the faster of the sections.
Of the parts so far, really. And basically, I was at, like, every step I was going downhill, my quads would cramp. I'm still dry heaving. It's just like, a miserable slog that starts happening. And there's a 115 cutoff. And I'm going so slow down this whole thing. Like, and you can't, it's hard to explain, like, we'll just go faster. Well, that's not necessarily how it works. Like, that sounds right. Like, well, you could just go faster. Like, but when your shit's cramping up and like, you're literally like hunched over, like, and your guts you're trying to puke, on the side. You're taking like 5 minutes of like an episode and like you're shaking because your body's like.
Well, I was going to say, like, an average person like gives up in those moments. Like, you don't move. And I think it's taking every possible ounce of energy to keep going.
After you have that, like, imagine if you feel sick and you're at home.
You go lay down.
You go lay down, like you go throw up in the toilet and you go lay on the couch and pull a blankie over you. You don't go to work.
Call in sick. Like, you don't get that option, especially in the mountains.
Yeah. Well, no. And that's, that's the thing is like, there's nothing anybody can do. Like, you got to go to the next aid station, dude. And I always like that about the running in the mountains because it's like, well, if you run out there, you got to run back.
And you and I, going into this, we made an agreement, and I think it's like something you guys all have agreed on before. Like, this is just part of your guys' culture in this, is you don't give up, get cut. Like, the only way you're not finishing it is by being cut. And that's, so it doesn't matter.
You will have to battle with yourself and your demons, per se, or whatever you want to call it. If you mentally give up and you're just like, I'm just going to let him cut me. That's also quitting.
Right.
But that's something like nobody else is going to see. You just have to kind of fight that with yourself.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Your own
Yeah.
little battle afterwards,
Yeah. No, those are definitely real demons that, jump up in ultra. Anyway, slow slog down, bad puking, cramping. I'm crossing the river to cross the road, and it's like 120 or something like that. So, and I still have 2.4 miles of gravel road that I was unaware of that I had to go down. But regardless, I had 2.4 miles. Again, on paper, that's a fast section of the course.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, it's probably one of the faster sections.
Yeah. Because it's a downhill gravel road.
It's all downhill, and it's road.
Yeah.
It's like, you should be bombing that, on good legs, But mile 47...
And dry heaving and all that other stuff.
Yeah, dude, it's a different thing. But, so so I'm like walking down the road. It's like 1:30 in the morning.
You are cut at this point.
I'm cut at this point. But I'm still like, I got to get to the aid station. Obviously, that's where everybody's at.
They're waiting for you.
They're waiting for me. They're like, and like, that's where you feel like shit as a runner who like doesn't finish one of these things. And these guys are like sacrificing their sleep and all this stuff, waiting for you.
Worrying about you.
You just feel like you're like, okay, if this is the best I got, the best I am, you kind of suck. That's how you feel. That's not the truth about you as a person or anything like that. But in that moment, you got so much stuff running through your head, man. And you're thinking like, I let these people down who sacrifice so much for me. And it's just a really shitty thing that I've had to swallow twice now. You just feel like you let them down. They don't look at it like that, and I wouldn't look at it like that if I was crewing somebody. But when you're the runner, and you will be able to share on this, when they're pouring so much love into you, and then you're not there to hold up your end of the bargain and show up to the next fucking spot on time, you really feel like shit, and that's like one of the hardest things to swallow. For me, it's not my own personal, like, oh, I didn't finish 100 miles, whatever. Like, I'm going to keep doing them until I finish one. It's letting people down in a way that I only personally feel. Like I said, it's all this sacrifice and this love that they put into you, and like, they're there on time, and the focus is you and all that. And then, like I said, you don't hold up your end of the bargain. Like, and could not be your fault, but you still weren't there when you were supposed to be there. It's like standing somebody up,
We actually kind of made a joke about that.
Yeah.
Your first pacer, which happened to be Jared, who surprised you.
Yeah, Jared drove all the way down.
And we were going to throw him in. He's never been to one of these either. He's done a couple smaller, like 50Ks and different things like that, diving into the ultra world. But this was his first 100 and one that he'd be pacing somebody at. And so I was like, okay, Jared, you're going to pace him for this first leg. And he got all ready, as pacers naturally do. They get
Little
ready,
high, too.
they get hot, they get like adrenaline going, they get a little anxious, they're like nervous because they have a big mission.
Especially for somebody who's never done that.
Yes, it's nerve-wracking because you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep up. But like, little do you,
The truth is,
You're gonna be let's go.
you're like tripping over their heels. You're like, all right, buddy, pick it up, you know. So he was like anxious and antsy, and then he fell asleep for a little bit, and he got back up, and we were walking around. And so our joke now is that like Will stood Jared up to prom.
yeah,
Stood him up on his first date.
yeah, and I did. I felt bad about that.
We're like, we think it's a funny joke. Will's like, it hurts.
Yeah.
I don't
I
find it
stood
funny.
him up, but I'm hurt, and that's the weird contrast of that. You know, it's like they are so understanding and like sympathetic, and then on your side, you know, like I've had a positive attitude about both of my 100-mile experiences, 100-mile attempt experiences, but it doesn't make it any easier. Just to wrap up kind of my whole section there. So I'm on the road. This car's driving down the road. It's 1:30 in the morning. She rolls her window down. She's finished IMTUF 6 times. Her buddy she's crewing has finished it 11 times. She rolls the window down. She's like, "Hey, buddy." She's like, how's it going? She's like, you want to ride to the aid station? Like, you know, you missed the cutoff. And she's like, there's no reason like flogging yourself. Like, let me just give you a ride back. And I'm just like, yeah, like my pride wants to be like, I'm going to walk.
Yeah. Oh,
but then the part where I feel like okay, now I'm only prolonging their suffering and worrying.
to try to.
What am I going to do? Walk in valiantly?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no.
I failed.
Yeah, exactly. I failed. And like, it just sucks. So anyways, I'm riding back with her and she was just like super nice. So that she dropped me off. She's like, I saw a bunch of like people wrapped in blankets that were like, they looked very worried. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably my crew. And she's like, cool, I know right where they are. I'll bring you right to them. And
It was them.
yeah. We're driving down the road and then like around the corner and then here's like this little army of people covered in blankets walking down the middle of the road. They were walking back
so
like
you didn't have
find
to
me.
walk alone.
Yeah, they were walking back to like try to come find me. And
And we had this little debate of like, do we go pick him up? And Bobby and I were like, no. If that were me, I'd want to walk it out. Kind of like you said, you know, like if my crew came to pick me up, I think it's kind of different when somebody else did it. But if my crew came to pick me up, I'd be like more embarrassed, I think. So like I'd want to finish that section. So I was like, okay, well, he doesn't have to at least walk alone. Let's just like walk with him. Let's go find him, you know.
well, because it was gonna take me an hour.
Yeah.
Another hour. So now they're looking at like 2:30, 3 in the morning. When it's like, the lady got me there in like 5 minutes.
I just want to kind of expand on that though. But I think like for me, it was actually an easy decision because I'll tell my story in a bit, but like I had to get picked up by the ATV, but like me feeling embarrassment was significant. Like that is a selfish emotion. So for me, it was like, I don't care if I feel more embarrassed because I'm putting these other people ahead of me, knowing that they have families, they have like all that. So it was like, yeah, I totally get that you could feel embarrassed, but I got so much out of that I was like it didn't matter about me. Like, I don't care how.
Given that, like, we didn't realize you were maybe still an hour out, I was like,
Yeah,
you gotta be
yeah.
right around the corner.
Well, yeah, he's very far
I was doing the time of, like, when they said that he left the aid station, I'm like, I mean, 10 miles to go 4 hours is a long time on, like, a flatter road, so I'm like, is he okay? That was running through my head. And then I was like, he's, like, gotta be right here. Like, you know, so we're gonna, go find you. But anyway, sorry, finish.
Yeah, that was kind of my whole experience, and honestly, my body though feels like good for running that far. Now, it was my stomach.
When your stomach got better, you're good.
No, my stomach was better. It was, like, I'm good. Like, honestly, you know, my feet, everything was good, held up pretty good. That race was no joke though, for sure. It would take me probably a couple of years or maybe knocking out a couple hundreds under my, you know, to get a couple other buckles before I come back to this race, maybe.
I think we've said it, like we go back and forth. It's too early to really say because
Yeah, that's true. I could sign up for it and come back next year.
Crew for these two people, we were trying to like navigate how we can be there for both of them and be on time and whatnot. So leaving.
So it's my fault.
Nope, I'm not putting that because I didn't have to get him a deli sandwich, but
Liked it though.
leaving the aid station where we saw Jessup, and then going to get that more of a hearty meal for you, you know. And I got the phone call when we were trying to park. Mind you, we had to park, and then the aid station was like a half mile away.
I heard it was treacherous.
Yes, and so we had to pack all this stuff up. But I was trying to park, and Jared called. He's like, "Where are you guys?" And my gut just sank, and I was like, instantly, I felt sick to my stomach. I was like, "Is he there?" He said, "Yeah, he's been here." And I was like, shit. So I was like, "Bobby, get out of the car. Take this bag. Run." And he's like, "Well, where is it?" I'm like, "It's about a quarter mile," they said. It's more like almost a half a mile up the mountain.
Uphill, yeah,
Up the mountain, you know? And he's like, "Okay."
Their
'Cause I'm
roads
like,
are as treacherous as the trails.
oh, God. By the time we got up there, both of us were like, "You good? Okay."
Bobby's got his Tahoe 200 shirt on.
Yeah.
And he comes running up. He's got like a thermal underwear underneath it, black. It's hot. He's running up with this huge bag. This is the kind of love that your crew puts into you. This is what I'm talking about.
But he does it twice. Is what's even funnier.
He's running up, and like literally, like his face looks like he's like smoked, you know. And he like brings the bag and he like drops the bag in front of me and like goes around the tree and lays in the shade. Is like, "I need a second." And, like,
Where's my crew?
yeah. Like he was like, "Where's my crew?" But it was just funny, man. Like, you know, he was running up with this Tahoe 200 shirt. People were like, "What's this guy's problem?" Like,
And then he had to run back down because my mom was trying to walk up, and he took his pants off and all the hot stuff. And then they were like, "We need to get Jessup's bag up there just in case." So he ran, and my mom couldn't carry it. She was struggling. So he ran my bag up there too.
I was trying to change. I was in all my thermals also, and I didn't have my flip-flops on. I had these big, like, hardy kind of boots. And I also ran up the hill and everything, so I'm dripping sweat.
You got worse blisters than Will and I.
I know.
I have huge blisters on my heels. And I'm like, this is nuts, man.
So I finished. No, I made it to the finish line to watch the last person come in. First of all, I don't think any of us said it was 25 degrees when we took off, and I think it made it up to like 80 something in the day. Like that is pretty crazy when you think about it. Yeah, I mean, I injured myself. I was literally in the ER 4 days before coming to this thing. You know, that really puts a pretty big damper on my confidence of like, I'm not at my best, dude. I'm having trouble sleeping. Now I got to run 100 miles. Like I literally could not sleep. It was that bad. And the pain, like my muscles were spasming. I did see the doctor just to make sure. They did a CT scan to make sure that it wasn't skeletal or there wasn't a fracture, and then I could do like real permanent damage, and you know, you could end up paralyzed if you mess something up like that. So they didn't see any of that, but he told me that in order to get an MRI, I would need to see a neurosurgeon, and it's just a pain in the ass, and obviously did not have time for that. He said if it were him, he would still attempt the race, but you know, I did so much training that might as well give it a shot. But he did warn me that I was probably going to be in significant more pain, and my recovery time would be longer because he doesn't know if it's a herniated disc or torn muscle. Like, we really don't know what it is still. And like, I'm no stranger to pain. Like, I know what pain is, and I've pushed through significant amounts of pain, and this was just debilitating. Starting this thing off, and the thing is like, they gave me Toradol and muscle relaxers, and they helped significantly. The pain, like, I felt very normal when I was taking it, but obviously I don't want to rely on it. And then I also saw research that said that you do not want to take any NSAIDs, so any anti-inflammatories that are, so they stand for non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, and they're processed by the kidneys. When we're out and doing anything like this extreme, it's almost guaranteed you're going to be dehydrated. And by taking those, it's almost a sure way to end up with kidney failure. It happens so often that they just said, don't do it. If you need to take a little Tylenol, like take that sparingly. I'm not a doctor, so do not take my advice and get injured. But I did that research, and that kind of concerned me because now I have to start this thing in pain, and I have zero crutch, and not only zero crutch, I have a crux, like something that's going to injure me. And so as soon as we get lined up, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous. Like, I was not starting this confident because I feel it. I physically felt it. We took off. It was freezing cold, and this is my first time doing a race ever. So I've never even done a 5K. I've never watched or crewed a 100. Like, I don't know really what I'm getting myself into.
Did you think it was cool though?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you feel like, oh shit?
Oh
I'm doing it?
Yeah. I get it. It was dope. It's just like this. All I could think of is like, and I do this often, but like, I don't need to know what it is or what I'm getting into. I just need to put my foot forward and keep moving. Like, I narrow my I have an end goal, but I narrow the focus to just what's in front of me. We did it with the Grand. It's like, I don't care to even look at what's coming next between the aid stations. I just need to put my foot forward. So
that's a good ultra mindset.
Yeah. So, we take off, and instantly, like, my back is already spasming. We're not even 100 yards out of this, and I'm like, oh shit. And so I'm just trying to go. I'm like, the doctor said that I could potentially, like, endorphins will kick in and a lot of that pain will go away. Didn't really happen. And I know I mentioned it to Will once, and your instant response was, stay positive. And I was like, fuck, now I can't even say it out loud how I'm feeling. God damn it. Huh? So
It's true. When you speak it to the universe or whatever, you speak it out, it's there now.
Oh, but it was there. I wasn't gonna like
Sure, but like one thing I always tell him, he always asks, how are you feeling? I'm like, great. Even if I'm not, and this is totally different.
Well, also other people don't want to hear that.
Yeah, which is what I hear.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, totally. I hear that. But like, I was just sitting there like, I'm not gonna fucking lie to you either. Like, oh, I'm feeling fucking butterflies.
Well, I don't think I even asked you. You just said it.
Yeah,
I was hiking up next to you, and you were like, yeah, my back's spasming.
I think I just said, man, my back is spasming.
Yeah, and I was like, just keep it positive, man. Like, fucking stuff that shit down. I don't know what you got to do.
Yeah. But it was just like, I think what it was hard is like, it's doing it way too early.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
dude, we're not even a mile in, and I'm like, shit. And then it progressively just starts climbing and climbing and climbing.
The pitch gets steeper.
And I'm just falling further and further back, which is like, just gets really demoralizing because I know I can at least keep fairly close to you because we've been training for.
Yeah.
So like, now I'm falling so far behind you. What the fuck? Like,
yeah. Did you ever talk to anybody on that hike?
It took me a little while. I was
Because you heard like there's all kinds of people having conversations.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. But I was like so in my head. It started off of like I just was not feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was too much. I was like, yeah. So
I'm not much of a talker out there either. But I was just wondering if you were.
I had moments where I talked for like. I needed a distraction. I was having not good conversations in my head. I was like, all right, let me talk to someone else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like, it's just progressively going up. And then I had a moment where, like, seriously, so many people that were going slow past me. And I'm like, fuck, man, like, this is not good. And my back is just getting worse and worse. And it's so, like, it happens so quick that they pull up in front of you. Like, it's not like it just is like, oh yeah. It's like, holy shit, where that, like, what's going on? How are they moving? They're not moving faster. So people are just progressively starting to pull, and then we hit a real steep spot.
Going up jug handle.
Yeah, and I catch up to all those people. So I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'm feeling a little bit. It was like a little bit of a morale boost. Still hurting. And it was just muscle spasming, but I start to feel a little tension in my hips and my pelvis area, and I'm like, uh-oh. Like, I haven't had that before out of like this back stuff. So then I'm climbing, I'm passing people now. So I'm like, cool, this is better. But then it progressively gets steeper and steeper and steeper. And then now I'm starting to feel real tension in all of my body. And I think like what started to happen was that was the first time I ran in 10 days since the injury. All of my body got so tight from all of that built up training that we did. And then like all of a sudden immediately halted any movement. I wasn't doing hardly any movement. I was trying static stretching, but that wasn't really doing it. That was causing it to get worse. And you saw how hard it was. My mobility was like gone. So now you have everything just so tight, and it's now stretching and pulling, and like top of jug is about 10-ish miles, I think. And I'm going, uh-oh. Like I'm feeling this when I should be at this point, like maybe mile 70 is what my mind is thinking, like, what is going on? So then I started talking to some people, and because now at this point, like they're at least stuff, if they're that slow, they've got to be dealing with some of the same shit. Yeah.
Too, yeah.
Because like I'm going way too slow to be, I'm not in like,
Yeah.
So, and now it gets very extreme. Like there's bouldering that you're going down this like
it's not like a full trail run. It's a
mountain goat run.
Well, yeah, you got to know how to like, boulder.
You literally are using all fours to get down some of this stuff. There's a section that force you to walk because it's a mandatory walk because it's too dangerous.
Well,
It's not even that it's like technically unsafe. You just have to move slow. So it's not like, and that's not like that part's necessarily hard when you're scrambling down and stepping over like boulders, but it's just extremely slow.
But it also uses different muscles, and you're lifting your legs and
bending and putting your hands down.
Real movements, not just this shuffle that you do when you're on flat ground.
Right.
Like you can get by this little shuffle. Yeah. This is, I gotta lift a leg. I gotta move my hips, and like it's different for sure. And so I'm now and downhill 10 times harder than uphill. It's having a way bigger impact on my body. And my muscles are just now, it's like seizing up my whole lower body. My knees, where I had surgery, because I've had surgery on both my knees, they're starting to hurt and be tight, and like everything. I'm going, fuck, this is getting real. This is like, and way too early in this race. And I make it to the first aid station, which is only 12 miles. And I'm going, fuck, man, this is not good. And so I just like, I eat some bacon. Like that was my first time ever being at an aid station. So I was like kind of taking it in. It was cool. It was a gorgeous spot, like one of the coolest spots.
It was super pretty.
And, but I know I'm so far behind. Like I can't hang out there. I gotta just move. Like I think I had to poop the whole time, and I didn't even stop to do that because I'm like, I don't got time.
Yep.
I'm like wasting all my time just so. Yeah, and I made sure I wasn't drinking enough, so I made sure you had said fill it up, pound one, and then fill it up and put it in. So I did that, and I was like, just make sure that I'm drinking enough water, because that was my biggest fear, is that not drinking enough water.
Yeah, you talked about hydration being important for you.
Yeah, so and then I did not eat near enough because I could not, dude. Every time I took a bite of like the granola or the Cliff Bar, I just wanted to puke. It was literally like. I had to fill my mouth with water, let it dissolve just to solve it, to swallow it. I'm like, I can't get this down.
If you haven't been there in your ultra career, I'm not going to say you're not doing it right, but just like one day you will definitely get there where you have to like make your food with like mashed potatoes.
Oh, it was just like, I couldn't, it was so miserable. So then they had like gummies fruit snacks. I grabbed a bunch of those. The lady's like, those are for the other runners. I was like, I was just too tired to get, it was a joke. She's like, I'm just kidding. I was like, okay, I just need
You're like,
these.
that's not funny. That's not funny.
You're going to make me fall right now. Don't play with my emotions like that.
Yeah, runners are fragile, man, when you're out there.
I get going and I'm like, God, like this is real and I'm hurting and this is way too early to be hurting. And it just is progressively getting worse and worse and worse to the point where about like, I think mile 15, I was like, I'm screwed. Like I am suffering so bad so early that like I am screwed. Because it was hurting. And like you're saying that, like again, like most people are like, well, why don't you just move faster? Like it was to a point where I almost felt like I'm dragging myself with the trekking poles. It's just like, just keep going. And the downhills are getting hard. Like mile 17, I went through so much emotion, just like, I didn't think I was going to make it. In my head, I remembered there was a 30 was there was a cutoff time that was something 30. And so I thought I had the cutoff time was at 1:30 for aid station number 2. And I got hiccups. And I'm just like, there's no way I was trying. I have footage of me trying, like I'm trying to run. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Your idea of how many miles you've gone is like shot now when you're just suffering. And I had crying moments. I had arguing with myself of just keep going. I felt like a failure. I felt it was like similar to the same things because this is the first aid station. I've gone 20 miles 5 times in 1 week or 4 times within a week period. Like this is nothing. What is going, like, it was so frustrating. I was so pissed at myself. I think I filmed myself calling myself a failure and pathetic and like all the things that were not helpful either. But it was how I was feeling. I'd put it out into the world on a much bigger platform than just telling your friends. Like,
well, and they say like in an ultra, you'll feel a lifetime of emotions in one race, you know. No matter how long your race is.
I've been talking about this thing since I signed up in January and telling people across the world that I'm doing this. I told very important people I was doing this. So it was like,
well, guess what though? You did it. Signing up is doing it.
So I've processed all this. So after feeling all this, there's another guy that comes up. I think his name was Edward. And he comes up behind me and I was like, damn, there's somebody behind me. And I was like, man, I don't think we did it. It's like 135 or 140 at this point. And I'm like, I think we didn't make the cutoff. Like at this point, I'm feeling defeated. I'm just trying to push. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm pretty sure it's 130. And like not even 30 seconds later, he's like, he passes me a little bit and he tells me he's not hurting. He's like, damn, I've been just taking my time and I'm about to be cut. I was like, well, I'm miserable. I'm hurting. I'm like injured. I told him the whole story. And then not even 30 seconds later, he's like, bro, it's here. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I just want to get off my feet and just go be depressed in a corner somewhere, you know? And all of a sudden I hear Kenzie just like, Jessup! And she just runs up to me and first thing I do is hug her. I thought I was bawling. I look at the footage. I was not. I wasn't crying. I literally thought I was bawling. Like it's so weird to me to still think about it because like my memory of it was I was crying and bawling because I was like, I felt like an idiot. Yeah. I felt like a failure. And then immediately I was like, I'm done. I'm out. And she's like, no. And Bobby's like, no, you're not. It's a soft cutoff. Like, and it's at 2. It's not 1:30. It's 2. And I was like, what time is it? He goes, it's 1:47. I'm like, well, shit. So they're like taking care of me. I'm still miserable. And like, it's crazy to see because the footage, I do not look miserable. I'm smiling, laughing, and like, it's so weird. Yeah. But then she starts like taking my socks off. They're doing everything for me. I'm not doing anything other than just like eating this sandwich. I was telling myself, I don't even want this fucking sandwich. And then I was like, oh God, I love this sandwich.
Yeah.
And they're even like, there's a bee that keeps trying to land on it, and my mom's swat. I'm like, it's okay. Leave the bee alone. Like, you don't have to worry about the bee. And Kenzie's like, takes my socks off, is cleaning my feet with the
little
wipes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, my love language is acts of service, and literally everything happening in that moment was just taking care of me and making sure that I was good, and like it was acts of service. And I was just overwhelmed with love. The guy, like one of the guys, comes up and he goes, you know, the cutoff is at 2. It's a soft cutoff, but you look like you're in good spirits. You're smiling and you're doing good. Like, if you want to keep trying, it's 10 miles. You have 2.5 hours to go 10 miles. It's not 10 miles. and then to the next aid station, and you go up a hill. And it's also pretty. It was a mountain.
Yeah. First of all, it's a giant mountain, steep, rocky, and scary.
Yeah. And and so I was like, well, if you'll let me, like, I'll do it. Like, I'm not going to quit. That's what we agreed upon. Yeah. And these guys are bringing life into me and making me feel they're believing in me when I didn't believe in it. I lost it. And
that's kind of emotionally hard to come over too. Like, you've already like given up on yourself kind of, and like had these like, and then you have to like recharge yourself, which, you know, they're bringing life back into you, but also now you gotta like now once you leave them, you got to get your shit back together.
Yeah. So I'm hugging everybody, and like I think I started tearing up there though when I started hugging everybody, and I told everybody I loved them. I told my dad I loved him, which like we don't have that close of a relationship, so it was really cool that they were there and got to see and be a part of this, and we had this all connection. And I was trying to run, but I was hobbling out of that bitch. And, I was like, Bobby's just cheering, and I'm taking my pulse, like, yeah, just trying to like bring that energy in.
Then you get around the corner, you're like, oh God. Yeah.
But no, I did, dude. Yeah. I had it for a good moment, and then I just started bawling, but it was a different one. It was like I had felt so blessed and so loved and so like much compassion given to me that I haven't felt in such a long time. And it instantly was like, this is what I needed. Like the whole, and then, so I probably, when I say ball, and this one I know I did because I looked at the footage and I'm crying. I have sunglasses on, so it's not a messy cry, but I'm bawling and I can't stop it. It's just coming out, which it felt so good because like it just sometimes you need that.
Yeah.
And so you run along this road, and then I was getting worried because I didn't see any pink things. I'm like, did I miss the freaking thing? Like, I don't want to you don't want to run any more than you have to when you're out there. Yeah. I was like, if I have to turn around, I'm done. You have those conversations. But I didn't. I ended up hitting there was people going by, and I was like, hey, do you know if I'm supposed to keep going? And one guy was like, I don't know, I'm just going to an aid station. But so then I turned off of this thing, and I should have been, again, like you said, this is a road. This is it's up, but it's a flat road. Mm-hmm. I should have been able to move quickly.
Yeah.
It took me, I think it was about 3 hours, and it took me 3 miles, and it took me like an hour. Mm-hmm. So that was like 3 miles per hour. That's not good, especially when I had 2.5 to go.
Yeah.
And then it hit. It got steep again. Then the mountain came. Dude, mathematically, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Like, there's zero. I'm sprinting up this thing to make cutoff. I'm like, there's no way. You guys knew there was no way I was going to. It took Will 3 hours, and he was doing.
I was feeling good.
Well, yeah. I did take a muscle relaxer, which they say was okay. All that did was stop the spasms. It didn't take any pain away, but you didn't know that. And what you did, like, I'm grateful that you guys did that. I'm so glad because when it all comes around, like, so I keep going up, and I just know at this point, I'm like, I know I can't make the cutoff. It's a done deal at this point, just mathematically not happening.
And we'll show you like these climbs. Like,
Yeah. And just like, cause it's so steep, you're like, at this point, it's literally like, using the trekking poles, just leaning on these poles. And,
can I say, how stoked are you to have the poles?
oh my God, bro. Thank God. And here's the thing. We practiced putting the poles away. I was like, I'm never putting these poles away.
Yeah.
It's like,
I put mine away on the downhills like I had rehearsed and planned on.
but I couldn't because I needed that for my support.
Yeah. But I remember when I first told Jessup was like, oh, do you run with poles? I'm like, dude, yeah, definitely run with poles. And then you're like, okay. And he goes and gets a pair and he's like, I'm going to go out and train with him. And he goes up the first day, does a big climb up Snow King
And I hated
in Jackson. And he's like, dude, I hate these. I'm like, trust me, you're going to learn to love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank God.
Well, like somebody said, they were like, it's like trying to climb up a mountain in 2-wheel drive.
Right.
Like you need 4-wheel drive.
Ultimately, like I had a lot of time to just think about, like make peace with it, because I think what was really interesting about why, when I kind of look back and go, why did I sign up for this? I think I didn't have a clear why. I didn't know why. I think like the biggest thing that stood out to me is like, I just want to make a cool YouTube video. And I've done lots of challenges, and my go-to why is like it builds confidence within me, which I'm sure, I complete this thing, it would build lots of confidence in me. And so maybe that was what I was going for. I wasn't sure. It felt like I was going to learn once I got there. After that first stop with the aid station and how much love I felt, and like I had said, I haven't felt that loved in years. And in that reflecting, while I'm like, it's almost like a death march uphill.
Yes.
But in that
Stairway to heaven.
Yeah. In that, like, I realized that's what I came here for. In a weird way, like I got something out of this that I didn't think I could possibly ever get out of doing something like this. Mm-hmm. I came for confidence. I came for being tough and hard and to get Goggins, stay hard. And I left with love that I didn't realize I needed so bad. The failure instantly washed away. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I failed. You failed. We failed. We didn't do what we came out to do. Mm-hmm. But what I ultimately got as a learning or out of it as an experience, I think was almost more powerful than actually finishing it. To finish the story, as I'm contemplating all this stuff, I'm like, okay, I've been going for a while now, and I have maybe 15 minutes till I'm actually cut, and I'm like, I gotta be at least close. I looked at my Strava, it looked like I should be about 2 to 3 miles away from where it is. And I sit down for a second. I pull out my phone to see if I can look at a map or something. And then here comes up this girl, Jenny is her name. And she goes, "Are you racing?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "But
am I in the lead? Am I winning?
Am I winning?" So, is this my congratulations? Yeah. And then I go, "Yeah, but I'm not going to make cutoff." And she's like, "Oh yeah, you're definitely not going to make cutoff." And she's like, "Are you feeling okay?" And I was like, "I'm hurting pretty bad. I'm injured and I'm suffering." She's like, "Can you keep moving?" I said, "Yeah, it's just very, very slow." And so I was like, "So how much further do we have?" Because it's uphill. And I thought 2 to 3 miles. She goes, "We got a long ways to still go." And I was just like, "Oh no." And it was 6 to 7 miles, not 2 to 3. And so we're just cruising along, and she can't go any faster than me.
You were so she caught you on the climb?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're still going up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're talking at this point, obviously, I was actually feeling good. I had made peace. I was like,
good
man,
spirits.
yeah, what I got from those guys just trumped anything. I started filming. I was like, I am here to make a YouTube video. So I started filming a lot of great things. And like, I worked through so much stuff in my head that I was like, man, I got way more out of this than just, there's millions of races. If I can figure out what I can get out of this for doing this crazy experience and pushing myself, like, I know I tried. I know I gave it everything I possibly could despite the situation. That's all that mattered. And so I had plenty of time to kind of deal with that. Pain didn't go away, but so I was in good spirits, at least like chatting with her, and she was telling me that her daughter is waiting at the aid station, her 7-year-old daughter, and her friend who's giving her a ride back. And I'm like, oh shit, we're gonna be like 5 hours if we could go
moving like a mile an hour.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit, and I know these guys are waiting on me, and so we're climbing, and I'm like every 20 minutes, I'm like, I gotta sit down for a second. Like, I just give me 30 seconds. And so she goes, at the top of the saddle, we'll get service, and I can call. And we actually hit an ATV road. They may be able to send somebody up with an ATV to help you. And I was like, obviously that saying like, oh, that's embarrassing, or I want to hike out this, but it was a very quick, like, those thoughts came in, and then it was instantly like, yeah, but like people are literally waiting on me. So we get up to this. She's like, all right, here's the saddle. It was a false saddle. So
it was a saddle, and then you had to climb up to one side of the saddle.
Yeah. So she was like, she stops. She's like, I'm gonna try to call, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep going because I can't, like, you'll catch up. Trust me.
And, I'm not gonna leave you.
Yeah. And then it keeps going up, and she catches up, and she was like, I'm sorry, I think we got a little ways to go. I was like, God damn it, you got my hopes up. And so finally we get up there, and she calls, and she's like calling people, and nobody's answering their phones. And I'm just like, God damn it, like, just come on, people, answer your phones. And then finally she's texting people, calling people. That she has a 406 number, and she's going, I think they all think it's like a
spam or something.
So nobody's answering. And so then finally Brandy, the race director's wife, answers. And she's talking to her and trying to figure it out. She's like, yeah, he's injured his back. And she kind of tells her the story of how she's like, it's not like he wasn't prepared or training. Like, he did everything he was supposed to. This was just super unfortunate. And they were being like super cool about it. Brandy's like, I haven't finished it 3 times, and she passed out and had to get rescued. And long story short, they found somebody that was going to send up the 4, but we didn't stop because just in case they couldn't, we needed to keep moving.
Keep going,
yeah. So then we're just like moving along and talking and stuff. And like, dude, it's taking forever for this 4-wheeler. I'm like, how far is this actually? And, finally, he gets there, and this big dude, and he is like got his pants kind of halfway on his ass, so it's a little bit of crack showing, and we're going downhill, so I'm just smashed against him.
Nut to butt.
Yeah, nut to butt the entire time. Like, I kept pushing myself back, and he was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to get off.
Just a little close, Jerry.
So there was one point I'm like, we're basically at second base with this ride, and I don't even know your name. And that's when he was like, it's Jerry.
He never commented back on your comments?
A little bit, yeah. So then there was another one where he had this flashlight like on the back of his waist, and it's like pressed up against my inner thigh, and pushing it against his ass, and I was just like, I just want to let you know I am happy to see you, but that is your flashlight, I swear. And then he goes, oh, did my flashlight turn on? And I was like, no, I was trying to make a joke, Jerry. Like,
maybe that was his part of the joke. Like, did my flashlight turn on?
I don't think that's what he meant.
Yeah.
But then this guy is going so slow. Jenny was going to give me a ride home. I didn't realize that they were at this crew station. I thought this was one that there was no crew. And so Jenny was like, yeah, we'll give you a ride home, because I told her where we're staying, and she was like, yeah, don't worry about it. And I called these guys as soon as I had service and knew I was getting picked up. They were all when they heard that there was somebody injured, they were talking about like getting a helicopter, and I was like, God, I'm so glad they didn't get a
helicopter.
Yeah, like, okay, that would have been really embarrassing and B, very expensive. It would have been cool.
You might want to milk that one and be like,
I would have like
bring me to the hospital.
Yeah. I would have laid on the ground like, oh boy, it hurt.
Yeah.
Jenny's like, he wasn't doing that a second ago.
You just collapsed. Yeah. Yeah, like if the helicopter comes, you better fucking act hurt.
I better really be hurt.
Yeah.
So basically he gets me all the way down. When she's like, when you get to the bottom, wait for me. You'll see my daughter. She's got to be the only little girl running around. And just wait for me. Well, Jerry was going so slow that Jenny could have passed us. I felt bad because she was like, I had to eat your dust the whole time because it was just, she could have passed us. So we got down. Yeah, she's sweeping, pulling all of it, but that's how slow we were going.
She was still moving faster than the four-wheeler.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my God. So we got down at the same time. And another funny little story is, Jerry was coming up to get me, and he runs into Edward, I think the guy that I came into the second station with, and he's like, he asked Edward how he's doing, and he was like, oh, I'm good. And he was like, I'm going to pick up another racer. He's like, oh, no, I'm the last one. Nobody else is behind me. And he's like, no, there's somebody behind me. And so when I got to the aid station, I seen him, and he thought I was out because last time he saw me I was saying I'm injured and I was messed up. And so he was just like, what the hell? Like, you kept going? So that was kind of funny. But yeah, that was the long-winded adventure of what happened with me. And I came back, I fell asleep. Last I struggled to fall asleep. My body was having a really hard time temperature regulating. I was hot on the surface and then shivering and like, oh my God, it was just,
they mess you up.
Oh, it was all over the place. I think there was blood in my urine. It was just like, it was rough. And then I told these guys not to tell Will that I didn't finish because I didn't want any. Last thing he said to me was, be positive. That was the last thing he said to me. I'm like, don't say shit, but give him this 360 camera and tell him I just wanted his perspective. I literally said that to her. And so then I finally fell asleep at like almost 1 o'clock. And then the next thing, Will's walking into the room, and I was like, it was a cool way to wake up because it was you. I imagined I was going to be woken up by Kenzie to get the battery, the camera, and that. And instead it was you. And it just felt like a very cool bonding moment, but also disappointed because like...
Yeah, I mean, we came here to do something. I'd like to see one of us do it.
So, but it was... honestly, I still stand by that. I'm so grateful that all of this played out the way it did. Because even after we've had such an amazing time here, my parents, it's been really, really great with every single one of you, your parents, Kenzie, your brother, Jared, my parents. It has been so much fun. Honestly, I don't know if there's a different way I'd want it to play out.
I can think of one. We have just as much fun, but we get to knock buckles.
But we can knock buckles. If I would have finished, there was a good chance that in my head I was like, I wouldn't sign up for another one. And now I'm like, I gotta sign up for another. There's no way I cannot.
You said that in your last video. You're like, I don't really know that that's really my thing. I'm kind of like a one and done person, you know, like I do these challenges and then I move on to the next thing, you know. But it's been really cool from my perspective watching you. Like I'm like this like little baby bird we're feeding and
wow, that's really great for my confidence.
Let me just chew this up and spit it in your mouth.
Just your perspective on these races and how it's evolved in such a quick time. You are talking like an ultra runner. You're loving the same things that we see and why we admire them so much and why we have a passion for it. Versus, yes, obviously, a big goal of yours is to make really good content, but you understand why we do it, and you love it.
Well, I mean, on one of our training runs, like Will and I were talking about, I was like, I had this conversation with this girl about like there being this kind of swing on like the loving side of things, or like the Goggins side, where you're, a lot of times you get off balance. Like people are too loving and too compassionate and too this, or they're too hard and just cut off and everything. And I had felt that with all the training we were doing, like I was really high on the Goggins side where I wasn't feeling any love. And I think I did tell you, like, I feel like I'm missing that. Like I'm trying to figure out how to.
What was the name? There was
Gaia, the Gaia and Goggins. And like, I never expected that I could find that side in this.
something so hard and brutal.
Yeah. It was like, because I did.
That is kind of.
I was
kind of a
literally
beautiful
like, if
picture.
we want to talk about manifestation and stuff, like I was something that was constantly on my mind is like, how do I find love? Like, I have no love in my life. I don't have this. I feel like I'm missing it. I feel like that was the lack. Here I'm doing something that is just feeding the Goggins side and not the other side. And how could I have planned that I would have caught that side by doing what we were doing? So
Also appreciate from being both the athlete and the crew. Again, seeing your new perspective on this, because we've been doing it for a little bit. It's cool to be able to reflect as a runner what is in front of us and not take it for granted, and we say we really appreciate, because we understand there's a lot of logistics, there's a lot of time off, there's a lot of sacrifice, there's that crew is put into their person. But as a crew member also, you're like, yeah, any day, like, I'll be there. And it's like, it takes nothing for us to go do that, right? But like, as an athlete, we say we appreciate and everything, and we do mean it, but to see your perspective on it, it just helps us remember that we can't take it for granted, because not everybody has people out there either.
Yeah.
And so we are fortunate. It is a beautiful kind of full circle.
Well, and for us, we always say this, and we're pretty blown away, and me and Bobby have talked about this a bit, but like, it's brought my family together.
Yeah. I mean, it brought my family
but
together in this.
Exactly, in one race, and it's amazing what it can do, and it all of a sudden just brings you together with your family, and there's this general purpose, and that is where a lot of the love is. It's just bringing you all together, and it's a racecation. You go out for this cool thing to support your loved one, but then you also get to hang out in a cool new place, and you get to and honestly, it's built up the last 5 years of our memories with our family and friends, and it's like, yeah, it's crazy how it can plug into your life and just become this thing. Like, even when you want to pull out of it and you're like, I need to back off next year. Like, next year we're going to back off, it just finds its way back in. It does, dude. It finds its way back in somehow.
There's those jokes of hating the in-laws and stuff like that. Like, you have an incredible relationship with your in-laws in this sense,
Yeah.
Like, her parents are dope.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, one of those feelings, like, I am so thankful to like your in-laws, or
Oh, that's good.
I do like your in-laws. I love your in-laws. No, I love your family, and there's always kind of like a joke, like, if you left me, they would keep me,
That's true.
just because, like,
That's probably very true.
We will. Yeah, don't worry, we'll.
Yeah, I know.
no, but just, like, I love every single one of them, and I can, like, have a connection with all of them. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That was the whole story.
That was the whole story here in McCall,
and we haven't told anybody on socials or posted or anything, because at this moment, I don't know when the release of this is going to coincide, but basically we wanted everybody to watch the YouTube video and then listen to this podcast to hear the full stories and stuff. But we're both planning on doing it. I mean, one of those things in this race, like, I'm no excuses. I'm making my videos. This channel is taking off again.
Yeah.
Jessup11. Subscribe.
Jessup11. Check that out. Obviously, the LostCompass. You got to check that out. If you're just listening to the podcast, go over to YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and you'll get to see the whole video production of these stories that we share here. you just get the more in-depth version of what we're actually filming on the podcast. So
Also, I was yawning a little bit ago, and it was because I was thinking about my honeydew pillow. Would you like to tell the folks about honeydew?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you so much. Yeah, this whole weekend and trip and our video and this podcast is all brought to you by Honeydew Pillows. This is a pillow that this is a company that Jessup has worked with for a little bit, but they were kind enough to team up with us for this weekend and support us for this race, which it tied in perfectly because as kind of adventure athletes and stuff, honestly, getting a good night's sleep is super important, whether you're going to go climb a mountain or do a race or whatever
Literally
you're going to do. Anything.
And
or just
outside of that, human beings.
Yeah. Sleep is so important. And we take supplements, we take vitamins and all these, powders and all this stuff. But like, why not supplement the thing that we do like a third of our day? And that's sleep.
Right.
And so having the Honeydew pillow, honestly has been awesome. And we were able to share it. Honeydew sent out a bunch of pillows for us to share with the whole crew for the weekend. They all got to share their experience sleeping with the Honeydew pillow.
They got to take the Honeydew pillow with them. They get it. And so everybody got the Honeydew Travel, which is the smaller version. And a lot of people think, when you hear travel pillow, you kind of just think those little neck things.
Yeah.
But no, this thing is a real pillow. They have the Honeydew Scrumptious Side Sleeper. That's kind of their flagship pillow, and it's a full size, pretty large pillow. And this is just the condensed, smaller version of it. And their belief is like your travel on the airplane is a minimal of your vacation. Mm-hmm. So why not have a pillow like you're never going to use your neck like that? Mm. Those travel pillows. In the hotel or in the Airbnb or whatever you're going to do, you're only going to use them on the airplane. So why not have a pillow that you'll use for the majority of your actual vacation or your travel or whatever it is? And so it's a smaller, amazing, like they don't jeopardize any of the quality or the comfort by making it a smaller version. And everybody got one and got to experience it, and seemed like Bobby wanted to hate it and he loved it. He's talking about buying his wife one, and I've been such a firm believer in their product, and they're a family-owned business. It's like literally the nicest people I've ever met, some of the nicest people I've ever met, and it makes me feel good knowing that we're supporting a family-owned business and just really great, humble people. And we actually also talked about their going to donate some pillows to Children's Hospital or kids with cancer. So originally it was, if I finish this race, they'll donate some to. We're still going to do it. We'll still donate them, and so that's really cool. And I think what's crazy and when you think about it is like we just put ourselves in a position to suffer, and here's some people and children that are suffering at a level that we probably aren't even reaching in what we're doing. And
no, definitely not.
And they didn't ask for it. So if we can go and make their lives a little bit easier, or their families who are staying and supporting, being a part of it and with them, we'd love to do that. So go support Honeydew.
Heck yeah. Again, for this video, this episode, this weekend,
Facility Services of Northern Idaho, which is owned by Rick. Are
you going to do it or am I going to do it?
I just was picking up where you were dropping the ball.
Well, I was just kidding. I just needed a little help.
Go ahead.
So our boy Rick with Facility Services of North Idaho.
Northern. I got you.
North Idaho. If you're not from North Idaho, you would call it Northern Idaho. Okay. But anyways, he supported this, helped support this weekend, this race, all of this. Rick is also the LostCompass. He's our number one patron.
Yeah.
And Rick totally believes in us and what we do, and we are so thankful for all of his support. And seriously, you want to talk about, you could put the theme of love on this episode. Rick shows love. Rick is like the most loving, giving generous person, you know, and it's just like, we're so lucky to have like these people that just come into our lives, and I don't feel like we deserve it. But
We love you, Rick.
yeah, thank you, Rick. We love you, buddy.
I think just one thing from a cruise standpoint, you guys should be damn proud of yourselves, and I know we're all really proud of you, though you have those things that you're either coming to peace with and what you're kind of feeling and whatever. Those are obviously valid, and I think everybody would have those same feelings, but just know that, like, you guys put yourself in the arena, and there's a very, very, very small percentage of people that will actually do that, and you did it.
30 people that signed up didn't show up.
So we beat them.
Yeah.
We'd go out there and sacrifice our sleep and everything 100 times over to be out there with you guys again and see you do it again. So
I am proud because I know that I gave it my all, and I think that's literally the only thing we can do when we go to these, right? So thank you so much for that,
Cool.
Ken.
No, until next time. Yeah, there's gonna be more and more adventures, more shenanigans, more good stuff.
Make sure to subscribe.
Make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching and listening.
Liver King out. Please keep that in.
I will. I think I actually signed off with a Liver King out.
Did you?
Out there because your dad was like, "Oh, do you want sunscreen?" I was like, "Liver King doesn't wear sunscreen." Did you do that? Yeah, I told him that.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Like, Liver King doesn't wear sunscreen? I'm primal.